This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Take. Skip has the day off. Stephen A. has the day off, but I have some really wonderful people sitting with me.
Wow, you're setting us up for the fall already, aren't you? There was like a pause there. It really was. I had to think about that.
No, because I was going to say something else. I was going to say Motley Crue, but I really enjoy you guys when you're here. It's always a pleasure. Kate Fagan, always a pleasure. Beauty and Brains personified. Jorge Sedano, I appreciate you being here. You give me a hard time.
I do.
LeBron lover.
I know.
Lover.
The NBA Lockdown podcast.
We do.
We have that love together.
Yeah. And then Freddie Coleman, the voice. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Glad to be with everybody today. It's been a long time for us.
All right, so obviously there's some basketball news. I don't know if we heard about it, right?
A little bit of basketball.
Yeah, there is. On the show today, the finals are set, and we're looking for direct flights from San Francisco to Cleveland for the First Take staff right now. That's what we're up to. But first, let's just talk about what happened last night, shall we? Steph and the Warriors finished the Rockets in 5 games. It's the first finals appearance for Golden State since 1975. And so quite simply, I'm asking, what was your takeaway from Game 5 other than the turnovers? Freddie, you first.
It was funny you mentioned that because we were talking about James Harden, to me, became that storyline where he had a double-double, but not the right kind of double-double. 14 points and 13 turnovers, setting an NBA playoff record for most turnovers in a game. And I'm always a big believer that if you're going to be a superstar, you want to be accorded superstar status. You can't have a Game 3 you disappeared. Game 4 you had 45 points, 33 points in the second half. And you could tell Game 5 last night, he knew he didn't have it. His teammates felt that, and they had absolutely no trust in him because he did not have any trust in himself. I'll give him a lot of credit for facing the media and say, you know what, it is what it is. I'm not making excuses. I have to be better. But for me, if you're going to be on that level where you feel you are next to LeBron James, next to Steph Curry, next to Kevin Durant when he's healthy, you can't have a disappearing act in Game 3, a heroic act in Game 4, and a disappearing act in Game 5. To me, once again, as much as I want to defend James Harden, I can't defend that when in a game that you have to have again, you go out there and you gave the ball away. It looked like he was in a bakery with so many turnovers that he was the best assist man for Golden State other than the 2 guards playing for that basketball team. That's the one thing that really jumped out to me, that I wanted James Harden to play well, even if they lost, but just to see a performance like that from a guy that continues to have his star rise, to me that was pretty disturbing to see that from James Harden again.
I would say a couple of things stuck out to me. Number one, we need to respect Little B and that base guy.
That is the one.
Well said.
We need to respect.
No, seriously. I texted our social media manager. I said, okay, so explain the curse to me again so I know that I don't get caught up in it. So, yeah, no, seriously.
Don't do any dance that looks like you're cooking.
Yeah,
okay?
hello?
Don't do that.
Without giving him said props.
Correct.
Okay.
If you're going to do it, you just got to give him the props, and then you're good.
All right.
That's all you got to do.
He'll lift said curse.
For example, if you saw the Cavs after they won, they did the dance while they were in the hot tub doing the video on J.R. Smith's Instagram, and then he warned them on Twitter.
I know.
And Iman Shumpert responded to him. Say, hey, no disrespect. We will give you the props. It is your dance, and thank you for letting us use it.
A Little B takeover. What can possibly go wrong there?
Little B was in the crowd. He was actually taunting them. There's Instagrams of him out there just kind of walking up and down behind the Rockets bench.
That's away from the playoffs, is it not?
Little B,
Let's just leave it there.
Little B is much more powerful than most people thought. You got to believe in Little B now. The other thing, though, in all seriousness, you start to wonder about Dwight Howard and James Harden as your lead guys. Can those be guys that you can sit there and say, those are the cornerstones for a championship? Now, I think James Harden gets a little too much grief. Obviously, he had a terrible game yesterday, but he's had some good games in this series. Now, we're going to remember the turnover in Game 2. We're going to remember this. But he's had some really productive games. There's a reason he was second in the MVP voting. Now, the other part about Dwight is, yesterday's game was the perfect example of Dwight Howard. At the beginning of that game, you were like, whoa. I mean, what's going on? This is the Dwight we expected to see, the 2009 throwback Dwight who carried the Magic to the NBA Finals. And then he starts doing things, he starts losing control, and he starts getting teed up, a couple of dirty plays, and you start to go, this is the guy Kobe Bryant was talking about that he didn't want to play with. I didn't feel that he had it to move forward. Now, I don't believe in that kind of stuff, the existential mumbo-jumbo, but I'll tell you this, that, what you saw on display yesterday is the perfect example of Dwight. Is you just never know what you're going to get from him.
Yeah. He always seems like one beat off of what he's supposed to be doing. And I think we even talked on First Take a couple weeks back about, will Dwight ever win a title? And the only place I could land where I saw him being on a championship team was when he was that role player guy coming off the bench at the end of his career. Because as you said, when you put him in one of your top two guys, James Harden, Dwight Howard, and he's got to be one of your key guys, he always just seems like he's 20 degrees off from where you need him to be on every given night. And my takeaway last night was that the Rockets are in one of the most difficult places you can be in the NBA. Of course, it's really, really tough when you're terrible like the Sixers are right now and you're building from scratch. But the Rockets are in that place where they kind of need Daryl Morey here to make some key moves at 3 through 7. If you think you're good with Dwight Howard and James Harden, there's some debate there, right? Whether you'd say, all right, can Dwight Howard be that guy for you? But 3 through 7, you need to really find those pieces like Golden State has found those pieces. Or if you look at Cleveland, even the way those guys are responding, maybe that's a little different because when you play with LeBron, he just kind of makes guys respond.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a really tough place for them. And watching Houston throughout this playoffs, I never thought they were that team. All right, they made the conference finals, and then next year you see that sort of like wave sweeping momentum, and
Right.
like that wasn't it for them. They sort of got to the finals, and I'm like, that's it. That's all they're going.
They had some moments, George, and I just want to go back to what you said, because we're questioning Harden and Howard. And we often want to say for teams to make it there, they need a one player that can take them to the championship, to the promised land. Let's talk about Harden. He's been getting a lot of slack for not being built for the postseason. Would that be accurate?
See, I don't know if that's accurate. Again, I think he's put up good numbers and he's had good games. Yesterday aside, I mean, 2 for 11 and the 13 turnovers. But even in that game where he was getting destroyed for that last play and the fact that he was doubled by Clay and Steph, he had 38 points in that game. He was 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. So this notion that he's not built for the playoffs, I don't believe that. I just wonder if he's the guy that you need to be the lead dog on a team.
So he's not.
But I'm not talking about from a basketball standpoint, from an X's and O's standpoint. I'm talking about just mentally, and that's the question with Dwight.
Yeah.
Built for.
I don't buy into that as much. I mean, on my podcast, 538 Hot Take. I know you got a podcast.
Yes, I do. It's like a little later on. I love it.
You can't brand yourself, then why are you here?
But we did. We talked a lot about do stars matter, and specifically in the NBA. And actually, statistically, when you looked at it, they were not as directly responsible for championships as you might think. So when I talk about the Rockets, and you're like, well,
You're saying stars don't matter when it comes to winning championships?
Well, certainly, no,
Statistically.
they do matter, but do they matter the way we talk about them?
Okay.
Like you need your big three, or you got in that it factor, and that one guy you have, and if that guy doesn't have it, you're not going to win it. So when that changed my viewpoint a little bit. So when I look at the Rockets and I see James Harden, he certainly has the qualities to be a championship team. And that's why earlier I said it's about Daryl Morey with 3 through 7 on this team. That's what it's about, 3 through 7 on this team.
They tried to get Chris Bosh this offseason.
Of course.
And I think had they gotten someone like that, I think that they would be a lot different.
I don't doubt James Harden's ability to win a title with
I don't
Rockets.
doubt it, but I don't think he's consistent, and I don't think he's the guy.
It's funny you mentioned that because Colin Cowherd and I were talking about this before we came on the air today, and he said he read a stat in Forbes in which James Harden does not possess 6 of the qualities you need to have a leader that can lead a team to a championship. He doesn't possess that right now, but I'm hoping we're not seeing a Carmelo Anthony type situation. What I mean by that is Carmelo Anthony to me is at his best when you have a Chauncey Billups with him. Not saying he can't be the face of a franchise, but that doesn't mean he can be the leader of a franchise. Maybe a James Harden, a Dwight Howard, they need that guy to say, okay, you guys handle basketball. You go out there and do your thing. I'll take care of the locker room. Now, that's not to say that James Harden can't do that. Remember, he's still early in his career.
Yeah,
this guy got into the NBA. The guy got in the NBA with 20 years of age because LeBron, everybody can't be LeBron.
Sure.
Where you were a leader in the sandbox, you were 3 years of age. There's only a few select people that can do that and transfer that to no matter what they're doing. So James Harden may have that. We'll have to wait and see. But maybe at this point, if you're the Houston Rockets, not saying Jason Terry can't be the leader anymore in your basketball team. He's well past his prime.
Sure.
They have to have a guy they look at and say, okay, that's a guy that I know can do what we need him to do. And when we need him to produce like a Paul Pierce, we know he can do that. I think right now that's where Houston is. James Harden may not be ready to be that leader yet. So you better bring somebody in that can show him exactly how it is to do that, understand it, and then maybe can take Houston to where they feel they have to go.
Okay, George, wait. Dwight Howard, 29 years old. He'll be 30. Let's focus on him.
Okay.
A lot of people, and I give him the reputation of being a clown, not mature enough. not really wanting it. Doesn't
Name
have
calling.
that skills. I'm just telling you what people say. This is true. It's not new.
You said that.
I do agree with that as well. I don't think he's mature enough. I don't think he wants it badly. You tell me your take. Is he the leader for that team?
See, I don't question whether he wants to win badly enough. I do question his maturity some. I think that you talk to people around the league, they feel that that's the case, and that seems to be a consensus around the league as far as he's not mature enough to handle certain things and certain aspects of being the leader of a team. Certainly from a talent perspective, I don't think no one can question that. And the same thing with Harden. You're talking about two of the most talented players we have in the entire league. Yeah. It's that. And again, I hate basing it on intangibles, but it's just that one aspect, and maturity comes with that. LeBron wasn't the mature guy he was 5 years ago that he is today. Right. You get hardened through experience, and you either let that mold you, or you just brush it off and say, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to keep doing it the way I want to do it. And when you look at Dwight, yesterday he made the comment that he's a champion. Yeah. And that stuck out in a lot of people's craws because you're like, well, wait a second. I mean, I get that you want to have the confidence to say that you think your team can be a champion, but you're not a champion until you have the title to back it up. And I think that becomes part of the equation here with him. But look, Daryl Morey deserves a lot of credit. No question. He built a team that a lot of people mocked and said, oh, analytics, this, that, and the other, it doesn't matter. And he wanted a third guy. He wanted a Chris Bosh. And maybe that's what they need. Maybe, look, I know LaMarcus Aldridge is a free agent this year. Maybe Kevin Love becomes a free agent this year. Maybe that's what they need, just a third piece to really take them to that next step.
Yeah, they had one in Chandler Parsons. Unfortunately, let him get away. He could have been a potential third piece.
I just don't see him, though, as a big enough piece, Chandler Parsons.
In this series, could have made a difference. Until those guys cross the threshold of winning an NBA title, we constantly say they're not capable.
Sure,
and
right, because they turn out to be capable.
It's often a retroactive sort of they've passed through the threshold, and then we're like, oh, he can do it.
No,
okay, yes, he can do it.
But I don't know. We don't feel that way about Russell Westbrook. We don't feel that way about Kevin Durant, do we? I feel like they can get a champion.
When you look at Dwight Howard, and to Kate and George's point, we have facts to tell us, okay, you can't do it. Because we've seen him, I mean, in Orlando's different situation, he was basically one guy with 4 shooters. They had a great run getting to the NBA
Stan
Finals.
Van Gundy did a great job with that team.
Tremendous as a head coach. And Hito Turkoglu was great as that fourth quarter killer. But you can't go out there and say, I'm a champion, I don't care what anybody else says. We can say, well, no, you're not. You can't say things like that if people are going to respect you as a leader.
Fair or not, you're judged by rings. And it's the same situation LeBron's going to be in, whether he wins or loses. At the end of your career, you're judged by that. Fair or unfair, that's the reality of it.
Fair. On June 4th, 9 Eastern, ABC, we will see two of the best players in the league battle. So that's Steph and the Warriors against LeBron and the Cavs. The Cavs tip off the NBA Finals, and it'll be interesting because LeBron James and Steph Curry have gone head-to-head 7 times in their career. James has won 5 of their 7 meetings, including their only meeting this season in a 110-99 win in Cleveland. Not that that's a big deal, but let's talk about the finals, shall we? Kate, what do you expect from these superstars and their teams?
Well, the thing I'm most interested in is the shooting of Steph Curry, and that may sound obvious, but I do think that as fans and people who watch the game, oftentimes when a shooter is the star of your team, there's this idea that that's hot and cold, or that if the defense just figures out a system to guard you, maybe doesn't help in as much when people penetrate, you can stick to a shooter. There's this idea that you can shut it down. But I think that what doesn't get talked about enough with Steph Curry, and why I expect Steph Curry to play really well in these finals, I expect the Warriors to win, is that he doesn't just make open shots here. He does something that's never been done before in the NBA, and that is make unassisted three-pointers. That's three-pointers off the dribble at a rate that we've never seen before. There's this website called Nylon Calculus that did this whole post on him talking about how he shot 43% after taking 3 or more dribbles on three-pointers. So that's all just numbers and statistics, but the bottom line of that is that we've never seen a player who can create his own three-pointer like this, which means that defenses don't know how to defend this guy. That's what's different to me right now, and why I'm looking at Steph Curry as the guy who's going to win this finals. He's going to take it from LeBron, right? LeBron's going to play phenomenal, I expect too, but I think Steph Curry does something and plays in a way that 29 NBA teams do not know how to guard yet.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. I mean, you look at what he's done, and you see, look, every time he shoots the ball, you think it's going in. I don't think there's ever a time that Steph Curry shoots. Even last night, he shot a ball from like 35 feet away, and it almost went in. It hit back iron. So I expect Steph Curry to take that next step in his career and really carry this on the biggest of big stages here. And with LeBron, I agree wholeheartedly. Look, he's going to give you everything he's got. He's been a triple-double machine, basically, in this last series. In essence, he averaged the triple-double. The problem, I think, in this series is Kyrie Irving, who is a superstar, is an all-star on this team. I don't know what to expect from him. I don't think anyone knows what to expect from him. We're all guessing here as to what he's going to look like. And we're assuming that with rest, he's going to look better, but he's gotten rest in different spurts here, and he continues to re-injure himself. So I think there's big questions there with Kyrie. I think there are some questions even with Klay Thompson potentially now. After taking that knee to the head yesterday, they're going to have to pass the concussion protocol with him because he was bleeding from the ear. I mean, that's a pretty big sign that something is wrong, certainly. So when I look at the stars on these two teams, I look at Steph and Klay and what they can do. And Klay has been somewhat inconsistent this postseason. So that's been, I don't know if alarming is the right word, but certainly it's something to watch out for. And with Kyrie, I just don't know what to expect. The only thing I can guarantee is that Steph and LeBron will more than likely have great series, like Kate alluded to.
I'm a big believer that in any kind of situation like this, we know the impact guys are going to have their say, but how much of a say are they going to have? Because Steph Curry will have to deal with different defenders. He'll see J.R. Smith, he'll see Amon Shumpert, he'll see LeBron James. We know Matthew Payne in the behind Dellavedova is going to try to get under his skin, because I guarantee if Houston had Patrick Beverley, they would have felt a lot better having that guy trying to get under the skin of Steph Curry, and he would not have had as much open space to take those shots, because that guy's a stirrer that does a great job, and I think Houston really missed him. Dellavedova could do that for the Cleveland Cavaliers. On the other side, look at LeBron James. He's going to see Harrison Barnes. He's going to see Draymond, Swiss Army Knife Green, who can do so many different things to help your basketball team. He's going to see different guys. Andre Iguodala, a very willing defender who's also played with LeBron James on an Olympic team. Not saying he knows the secret. He doesn't have the special sauce to stop him, but he has sort of an insight. So I think both of these guys are going to have a say in this series. They're going to have great numbers in this series. But the question is, how much of the answer I want to see is how much of a say are they going to have? Because these guys are so good at making what I call those heartbreaker shots. You're down by 4, they make it 3, you're down by 7. They get a stop, they make it 3, you're down by 10. We saw LeBron James do that twice in the playoffs this year. The heartbreaker shot to beat Chicago in Game 4, and then that three-pointer that he made in Game 3 of the series versus Atlanta that sent them away. Whatever kind of say they're going to have, I can't wait to see, because they're going to see so many different concepts thrown at them that they'll have to try to create shots. It'll be the toughest defense that Steph Curry has seen and LeBron James has seen so far in the playoffs.
I think Kate made the best point when she was talking about the Rockets, 3 through 7.
You always do.
I think that this is exactly what's going to be the problem for the Cavs here. The Warriors are the most complete team in this field. They've been the best team from wire to wire, best defensive team in the league. They finished second by 1/10 of a point in offense to the Clippers. They're excellent, I mean, all across the board. They don't really have a weakness. So the problem with Cleveland, when you look at them, there's a lot of isolation right now. It's a lot of LeBron. He's taking a lot of shots. He's been inefficient, which is very un-LeBron-like, because he doesn't have the supporting cast around him. And I think that's going to be magnified in this particular series.
All right.
And I think the one thing that's tough to wrap our minds around is that this three-point shooting of the Golden State Warriors, it's not something you can lock down. And we've always said for years, well, if you're an outside shooting team, postseason defense, you're not going to be able to get those same percentages. You look at Steph Curry's percentages, they are the exact same. We think of it as like a 32% shot. The Golden State Warriors have shot it at 40%. They've shot it at 40% in the playoffs. The actual point value of that shot is higher than what the Cavs do. Yeah. And it's not going away. It is not streaky for them. They're like that arcade game where one thing pops up and you knock it down and then something else pops up. Yeah. I hear people say all the time, well, you know, if Klay Thompson can't go 3 for 11, Draymond Green can't go 3 for 15. Well, what if Steph Curry's 3 for 12? Well, guess what? All those things have happened already.
Right, they won.
All those things have happened, and they keep winning, and they keep winning by decent margins.
And also a big part of that whack-a-mole theory that you're bringing up, that's what it's called.
I just call it the arcade game.
I've been in a state for an arcade game a couple of times in my lifetime. A big part of that whack-a-mole theory that is correct is that their defense is so underrated. They are maybe the best gang rebounding team in the NBA. It's not just their big people. Festus Ezeli Festus for the rest of us had a great game last night because he's part of the system in which they all attack the boards. And they're so good at not only pace, but also space. So you're trying to find these guys in transition because they're so good at rebounding and kicking the ball out quickly. All of a sudden you turn around and Clay is spotting up, or Draymond's spotting up, or Steph is spotting up. It's kind of hard to find which mole to knock down to make sure the other mole doesn't pop up and beat you from the outside. So people have always said jump shooting teams can't win an NBA championship. Golden State is different by the way that they share the basketball. They're very unselfish. There's selflessness, but that pace, you have got to murder them on the boards. That means Tristan Thompson's going to be a big key in the series. If they can't control him on the offensive glass, if he keeps possessions alive, now Golden State can't get out and do what they want in pace and space. That's going to be a big key to me in this series because if Cleveland can't dominate on the offensive boards, that means a lot of runouts, a lot of open jump shots, and their defense is not good enough to stop that.
The Warriors have faced a team that could dominate them on the boards in Memphis, and they made that adjustment. Now, granted, I don't think there's a Tony Allen necessarily on the Cavs roster who could be a liability potentially on offense, but they've dealt with Marc Gasol and Zebo and that big front line before. So I think that they at least have the ability to be able to combat that. Andrew Bogut is as good a defensive player as there is. He might have, really well. In my opinion, he should have been first team all defense, but or at least you can make the case for him.
I'm glad he stayed healthy too.
Yeah, it's not just the 3 or 4 guys that can guard LeBron. It's the fact that they've got that guy behind them too to protect him.
All right, to your point, because you bring up Marc Gasol and Memphis Grizzlies, Steph Curry will now face LeBron after beating Anthony Davis, Marc Gasol, and James Harden. Curry is the first player in NBA history to face every member of a first-team All-NBA in a single postseason. So we're going to say some great things about this kid. I mean, we're really watching a superstar, and I like him because he is a good kid. I hate to be biased like that, but have you all met him before?
I've had him on the show.
This is a good kid. You root for somebody.
Well, and also to his development, Bob McKillop, his college coach at Davidson, should get a lot of credit because before his senior season, he said, you know what, 6'2" shooting guards in the NBA, that's like a dinosaur. They're not going to last long. With your shooting ability and your handle, you play the point guard position, you'll be able to elevate yourself and elevate your game. He was willing to put his team at risk to make Steph Curry a potential better pro. We didn't see this coming. Nobody saw Steph Curry like this. But the fact that Bob McKillop looked at it from a big picture standpoint and said, you know what, you're going to be better and have more success as a point guard than a shooting guard. We've seen Steph Curry take that and run with it and get Golden State to this point.
It takes one to believe and say, yes, I believe in you and you and you. Just takes one.
It takes a village, Carrie.
Yeah, well, just one to say yes. Just one to say yes. Meanwhile, you just heard everyone discuss LeBron and Steph Curry. We need your help at home on the Twitter. We need you to weigh in using the hashtag #FinalsRank and give your top 5 players in the finals. They have an interesting list. All right, so time now for a segment we call Setting the Bar. Like odds makers do in Vegas, our analysts are going to handicap some of the NFL scenarios this season based on predictions and things that have happened on and off the field. They're going to predict the most likely outcome. So let's start off with Adrian Peterson and the Vikings, shall we? Coach Mike Zimmer says the running back will not play for anyone else in Minnesota, but Peterson says he's made it known that he doesn't want to play for the Vikings. He's unhappy with the way they treated him when he was dealing with his child abuse charges. So setting the bar, guys, how many games do you believe Adrian Peterson will play for the Vikings this season? I'll start with you first.
I'm setting the bar at 12 games.
Okay.
And I got to 12 because I think for Adrian, this feels like it's a little bit about control, obviously. He lost it last year, and now he's grabbing back as much as he can. Now, how much does he actually have, though? Very little, especially when you listen to the Minnesota Vikings and say, you're either playing for us or you're not playing. So is he going to leave $750,000 a week on the table? I don't think so. He didn't show up to OTAs, but he does have a workout bonus, which he can have missed that OTA and still hit that bonus. So he's got this little margin of control to exert, and that's all he's doing. That's what I see him doing right now, is exerting it, make himself feel a little bit better about the situation. But when this season starts, he's going to be there. I put it at 12 because maybe he misses a couple games because of injury. Plus, it's a Vegas odd, setting the bar at 12. So I'm thinking he might be at 14 or 16, but 12.
See, I win 11.5 because it's Vegas. You got to go a half. You got to go over or under.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You got to give a reason to go over or under. And the reason I win 11.5 is because they hit the bye week, I think, in week 5, if I recall correctly. So he could miss up to 4 games, and we've seen this before, whether it's a contractual holdout. Emmitt Smith, a number of years ago, missed a couple of games. I think it was 2 games to start the season with the Dallas Cowboys. And maybe Adrian wants to prove a point. But at $750,000 a game, that starts to add up. So $3 million is a lot of money. But I do think that's where we go. I do think, though, that he does want to play elsewhere. I know now he's kind of come back and said this is more about business and go Vikings and this, that, and the other. But it was last summer in August when our own Don Van Natta from Outside the Lines and ESPN The Magazine did a feature on Jerry Jones, and during that feature, Jerry Jones took a call from Adrian Peterson saying, "Jerry, get me over to Big D."
They were just friends having a conversation.
And that Jerry was talking in Pig Latin.
No,
and
that's not true.
Hey, that's what Don Van Natta says, and if he says it, I buy
true,
it.
Right.
So I think he still wants out. I just think the problem is Steven has put him in a padded room, tied up, and he's making all the calls.
Right.
And Jerry's not doing anything. Plus, they don't have the cap space to bring him in right away. They would have to maneuver around a little bit. But I think it's 11.5 because I think he's still trying to see if they would deal him elsewhere.
Okay.
Ederson pays playing 16 games. Let's put it that way, because to your point, once in a while, hey, I have enough problems with English. Why not try a different language? I think with Adrian Peterson, if you're going to try to move away from a team, or have a team trade you, the way you went about it, you and your agent in the offseason, probably rule number 1, don't do that anymore. If you want to find a way to get away from a situation, you got to kill them with sugar and not with vinegar. He tried the vinegar approach, and that's why he's playing 16 games for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings told him, either you're playing for us, they are willing to pay you $12.75 million.
Why not?
And have that $15 million count against the salary cap. They know you want to leave, and they're like, no, we're not having you leave. You're going to play for us. That's why, from a business decision, he decided, you know what? This is not personal against the Vikings. Let's let bygones be bygones. He finally figured out, you know what? If I want to get out of here, I better come correct and play for this organization, ball out for 16 games. I become a bigger commodity. I help myself. I help them at a certain point. He's playing all 16 games for the Vikings. I don't think he's going to miss a game. If anything, last year may have benefited him at that position, at running back, where they treat them like an endangered species, and now that's 1 year less of tread on his tire that he can use that to full effect this season. I think he's playing all 16.
All right, let's go to Cleveland and talk about one Johnny Manziel, shall we? He was drafted last season, was expected to be their leader. As we all know, after the season he had, his rookie season, he checked into rehab. He is out of rehab. He's attending OTAs. But in the meantime, in between time, the Browns added Josh McCown as their quarterback. So let's talk about Johnny Manziel and setting the bar as far as how often do we believe we'll see him this season? How many touchdowns, Kate, do you believe he'll have this season?
I put it at 6. And I can't tell if that's going to be optimistic or pessimistic for you guys. I have some optimism for Johnny this year, but the reason I, in my opinion, only put it at 6 is because I'm thinking of him as a rookie almost this year.
You're right.
Whatever he learned last year was through a completely different lens. He obviously, because he's entered rehab, there was a crutch there. He's not going to have that anymore. So in some respects, he's entering this season, and he doesn't know how he's going to feel, what he's going to think. He has to, in a way, address this as if it's his first time in the NFL. And so I think that by the end of the year, they're going to put him in. I think he's going to start the last 3-4 games of the year. I think he's going to play pretty well. And so that's what, but they're the Browns, of course. So I put it at 6 because I think if he plays 3 games and he's accounting for 6 touchdowns, I think a lot of us would see that as a step in the right direction for him. But I don't think he's playing at the beginning of the year. I think it's going to wait until the back end of the season, much the same way we saw last year for him, except now I think it's going to be a little bit more of positive momentum.
I have it at 4.5 because I don't think he's going to play very much.
I'm getting your pattern here.
Yeah. Got to go half. You got to make people decide here.
I see. I will.
So Josh McCown is going to be the starter there. But here's the thing. He's, in essence, a career backup as well. So I don't think he's going to play the whole season. I think once they are eliminated from the postseason, which I think could be late in the year because I think they have a very good defense, then they'll give Manziel a shot. So I could see him throwing a couple of touchdowns in maybe 3 or 4 games like Kate said. But I just think the problem with Johnny Manziel is, on top of the obvious issues, I think that physically, I don't know he can hold up.
Yeah.
Okay, he's small. He likes to run around. In this league, he can get broken in half, man, the way he decides to play. If he decides to play the way he did in college and the way he did last year. So I just don't feel like he's a good fit in this league, even though originally I thought he could play. It just doesn't seem like the right fit for him. He's not physically developed enough. He's not an imposing figure physically, and I just don't think he can last.
Although he's so much bigger in person, I know obviously when you watch the games, he's so much bigger.
He looks
than
stronger.
You assume in person.
Yeah. Okay. That's, I'm going to be optimistic. I think he's going to play by week 3 or 4 because I don't think, to George's point about being a career backup, that's been Josh McCown. He's a nice enough guy, but they know he's not the future of this franchise. As a matter of fact, I don't think he's the present for the Cleveland Browns. Your fortunes, whether you're Jimmy Haslam, the owner, Ray Farmer, the GM, are tied to this guy, Johnny Manziel. That's why you maneuvered in the first round to bring this guy to your football team. I honestly believe they're going to give him every opportunity to win the starting job at the beginning. Mike Pettin, that decision is completely out of his hands as the head coach. If Farmer wants Johnny Manziel to start over McCown, you can bet your last dollar that's going to be what's going to happen in Cleveland. I think he's going to start about 12 games. I'll give him 12 touchdowns combined, running and passing. Like I said, that's at the top of the optimism level. I just honestly believe that Cleveland's going to give him every opportunity, and he'll have more turnovers than touchdowns. I don't think there's any doubt about that in my mind. But they want to see exactly what they have. This way they can make a decision. Okay, if this is our guy, fine. If this is not our guy, we'll move on and move on down the line. I'll give him 12, but that's just being completely off-the-wall optimistic when it comes to Johnny Manziel.
All right, so give me yours again.
4.5.
Okay, and
6.
And you say?
12.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got that right.
I'm completely crazy on this, and I'm fine.
I'll go 7.5.
Okay,
Wait, are we betting on this or no?
Well, he brought the half in Vegas into it, so why not? Why not make it a fair
Brian
wager?
Bork, our producer, we need some help. Okay, moving on. We got coming off an NFC East win. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. They've added some really key players on both sides of the ball. Odds makers, in fact, say their chances to win the Super Bowl are at right now 14-1. But let's set the bar at regular season wins. That's where we'll stay, Kate. Give me your number for Dallas.
Well, this pains me. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a New York Giant football fan. At least I grew up one. But I think they're going to win the same amount of games they won. The Cowboys, that is, going to win this. They're going to win the same amount of games this year that they won last year.
Right.
I think they're winning 12. I think that with the quarterback and wide receiver positions, with so much talent there, the big question is at running back, losing Murray. But I think it's all about the O-line there. I think they're going to plug somebody in. They got 3 running backs to rotate in. I don't think they're making up the 1,800 rushing yards that Murray had, but I think they're going to have 1,000 yards back. And I think part of the reason I landed at, let's say, 11.5 games, since I'm going to do a half.
Okay.
Make people choose.
Yeah.
Make people choose.
Yeah.
Is because I don't know about the NFC East this year.
Yeah.
The Giants could be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they go,
They really could.
they can be terrible and then they can be good.
Yeah.
And especially, well, we could talk a long time about the Giants, right?
Yeah.
Cruz is healthy. And the Eagles, we don't know what they're going to be either. We don't know what their quarterback situation is going to look like. So I think the Cowboys playing in that league, I think if the Giants aren't as good as I hope they are and some people hope they are, I think they get away with 12 wins this year.
See, I have them at 9.5, and I think that they come back down to earth a little bit only because I think the top of the division will be better. I do think the Giants will be back. I think Philly is going to be around 9 or 10 wins as well. So I think the Cowboys could still win the division at 9 or 10 wins potentially.
Okay.
But I do think it's because that top of that division is going to be good again. I like the Giants with the additions they've made on defense. Obviously on offense, I think they can be as potent as anyone. And Dallas too. I mean, they've made some key additions. They've shored their secondary out, bringing back Orlando Scandrick. And I love Chip Kelly. Like, to me, I think Chip Kelly is this mad scientist. I think that he's doing everything right. He's ruffling everyone's feathers, and I love it. And I don't think we've seen anyone do anything like that really since Jimmy Johnson, speaking of the Cowboys, when he came in and started ruffling people's feathers. But I do think the Cowboys can win the division, but I would put it at 9.5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 10 for all the reasons you guys said. I'm going to add this to it. I still worry about that Cowboys defense. I know Sean Lee coming back at linebacker. That's going to be an immense help. Scandrick being re-signed in the secondary, but in that division, you have to knock down the quarterback. If you're going to play against Philadelphia, whether it's Sam Bradford, Ron Jaworski, whoever, you better figure a way to knock down the quarterback.
Ron
in New York,
Jaworski's not going to be playing.
Right? Chip Kelly may bring him in to play quarterback. He's brought everybody else.
Chip Kelly can use that. He can just throw anybody.
He can put anybody. I understand that. He may give him a one-day contract just for. Either way, you got to knock down the quarterback in that division. I don't care who's playing quarterback for Washington. That's the problem that I have with the Cowboys. They may be able to cover people, but do you have that thumper on the outside that can get after the quarterback? And you have to have that in this league, especially a quarterback-driven league. If you don't have guys on the outside that can cover people, you better find a guy like a J.J. Watt. I know they don't grow on trees, but they had a guy in DeMarcus Ware. Even DeMarcus Ware right now will be a better pass rusher than anybody the Cowboys have. So I'll give them 10 wins because they are going to come back to the rest of this division. That division is going to be a little bit better, but that still bothers me about the Cowboys. Not so much the running back position. They're going to find a way to run the football effectively.
Okay.
Not having that thump on the outside, knocking down the quarterback, that still bugs me.
How many regular season games will the Cowboys win? Kate says 12. George, 9.5. and Freddie at 10. You actually said 11.5.
I switched it because I like that half.
You like that half thing. All right. So the biggest NFL drama surrounds the defending Super Bowl champions. Tom Brady, as of now, suspended 4 games. Upon appeal, it could change, but as of now, again, that's just 4 games. But consider no Brady in a league, for the most part, people consider the Patriots cheaters. So let's discuss their regular season wins, shall we? What's your number, Kate?
I put him at 11.
Okay.
10.5.
Yeah, there you go.
I put him at 10.5. I don't think Brady missing 4 games is going to ding them that much. I don't think they know what they have with Garoppolo yet. The history of the Patriots seems to be that their backup is pretty strong. And as much as we talk about the impact the quarterbacks have, and it's certainly a huge influence on the games, it's not accounting for the Patriots missing Brady for 4 games like that it's going to really knock them sideways too much. Maybe they lose 1 more game in those 4, maybe, but I'm not even sure of that. So I think that their defense has a few holes in it, but so that's why I'm putting them right around 10.5 because I feel like they're still the Patriots. They still have that core, and at the quarterback position, they're gonna be fine whether it's Garoppolo and once Brady comes back in Game 5.
I too have them at 10.5, and it's because of the Brady potential suspension and missing the 4 games. Because I think they could split those 2 games potentially, but there's this notion that, well, Matt Castle won 11 games, and if he could do it, anybody could do it. Well, here's the thing: that Patriots defense back then was Teddy Bruschi and those guys that were back there, a top 5 type of defense. And there was also a guy named Randy Moss who was still pretty bleeping good back then.
Okay.
And they had Wes Welker, so they don't have those type of guys around Jimmy Garoppolo. So I do think that they'll probably still win the division, but I think it's going to be about 10 or 11 wins potentially. So I got them at 10.5.
I got them at 11 because everybody has given the Patriots motivation once again.
Right.
They're going to use the whole, everybody is picking on us. The NFL caught us, but gosh darn it, everybody else was doing it. Why are you picking on us? Yeah, we got caught again with another situation, but we're going to use this as a rallying cry. That's what they do. They love that underdog mentality, even though this team has never been an underdog. The minute that Tom Brady became the quarterback that he's turned out to be, they try to use the underdog status. Nobody's buying that from the Patriots.
They need that motivation.
But it works for them, and they're going to make sure that it does work for them. I think Tom Brady's going to be suspended to 4 games. I don't think it's going to be reduced to 2 games. I think it's going to be 4. I think Roger Goodell has dug his trench and said, you know what? We're not letting you get away with this. It's going to be 4 games. Tom Brady tried to dial it down to 2. I think it's going to be 4. Either way, when it's all said and done, when he comes back, if you thought they were mad last year, or in the offseason, they're really going to be mad to the 25th power now. Having that motivation, I think it's going to be 11 games, 11 wins for the Patriots.
According to your scenario, he still gets the 4, so he comes back and he plays the Colts. What was he putting up on the Colts?
He could put a 40-burger on them.
Easy.
So 11-1. You got him going 11-1.
I got him going 11-1.
Easy. All right.
Because of the motivation.
Let's leave it here. That was great. We set the bar, ladies and gentlemen.
No Revis. That's all I'm saying.
Uh-oh.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Well, there are conflicting reports out of Chicago. Before the playoffs were over, we were told Tom Thibodeau would be gone no matter how well the Bulls performed. Then once the Bulls were out of the playoffs, we were told that the Bulls were purposely delaying his firing because they didn't want him to be hired by other teams in the NFL and the NBA. So now we're hearing it's about his contract, whether or not they want to pay him, give him that money. I don't know what's going on, but that's all according to our Mark Stein. Let me start with you first, Freddie, because you seem to have your ear on the ground there in Chi-Town. Do you not?
A little bit.
Okay.
I have some operatives.
You have some operatives. Tell me what in the world is happening in Chicago.
What's the old line from Nino Brown in the movie New Jack City?
I don't know.
Business be, you don't know. Business be, never personal. This is the reverse. This seems really personal with the Bulls management not wanting to give Tom Thibodeau any kind of love. They have shaded him so many different ways, ruining his reputation, hearing reports out of Chicago that in exit interviews with players that they've completely torn him to shreds. From a reputation standpoint. Players are like, wait a minute, okay, you don't like the guy, but do you have to go this route? This seems really personal from the Bulls that whatever has gone on between them and Tom Thibodeau, they have not liked how it's going to end. They have not liked the way he's operated. They have not liked why this team has not been able to win a championship or get to the NBA Finals. It's like they're holding everything and placing everything at his feet. This is your fault. Why Derrick Rose got hurt and why we couldn't beat Cleveland and why this and why that. This is really personal. I'm thinking, okay, if you don't want a guy there, I understand that. At a certain point, maybe your shelf life, and that's what it is with Tom Thibodeau. Maybe his message has gotten worn out, whatever that is. But to go this route, when you still have $9 million left in the contract to pay him over 2 years, and you're doing everything in your power to make sure that not only you're going to get rid of him, but that he's not going to have a job next year in the NBA, maybe the year after that. This can come back to haunt the Bulls, because what if Fred Hoiberg doesn't want to leave Iowa State? Because that seems to be the guy they want. Then you have to go to your second option that may not be the best option for your team. So I just wonder how this end game is going to work in favor of Chicago, because they don't want the guy anymore, but they're really making this too personal.
Well, Freddie, that's what I was saying. It seems just really petty. I didn't understand.
This is beyond petty, though, to me.
Should this surprise anyone, though? I mean, here's the thing with the Bulls.
Exactly, Del Negro and how that went down.
The Reinsdorfs, as long as they've owned this, go back to Phil Jackson. Like, I know it was 15, 16 years ago, but that thing ended badly. That thing with Scotty ended badly. Yeah, they gave him his money, but it was a sign and trade. They got pieces back for Scotty. And they didn't really pay Michael until the end.
Right.
So it goes back then Vinny Del Negro, Scott Skiles, now Thibodeau. This should be no surprise to anyone. The Reinsdorf family, to use a movie analogy, I don't know if anyone's seen Royal Tenenbaums, and Gene Hackman's character, he's shady. He's shady, right? He was shady before. His kids hated him. He came back. He was still shady. And the Reinsdorfs, they were shady back then and still shady now. So they're notoriously cheap. No one ever talks about that. There's a lot of things wrong with that Bulls organization, and the only thing in common, the common thread, is the Reinsdorf family.
All right. So those are really good overarching issues. But if you read this great piece by Nick Friedel on ESPN.com, he's like, okay, nobody's disagreeing that they have issues, but what are those issues, right? And a lot of it is this new idea in the NBA that you don't need to be playing 82 games. You don't need to be playing 42 minutes a game. Certainly now we hear from guys who played in the 80s and 90s and always were playing all 82 games and played 48 minutes, and it's like, hey, I can do it. How come these guys can't do it? But that doesn't mean that those guys in the 80s and 90s weren't worn down or tired. Maybe we just weren't talking about it enough. So if you read this piece, right, and we talk a little bit about Thibodeau overplays guys. So that's not new news here. But the Bulls seem to be really locked in here on rest and minutes and heart rate, and we've talked about some of that stuff in the NBA, that they monitor sleep, they monitor all these different things, these biodynamic issues that we didn't monitor before, and the Bulls want Thibodeau to stop playing guys so many minutes, and they certainly think that he's not listening to that, and they certainly think that that's contributing to fatigue and injuries and also losing players mentally at certain points of the season. But for me, it's like you have that philosophical issue, then you peel back, and the bigger philosophical issue is that you can't manage your philosophical issues. Because certainly coaches and GMs are all the time going to be at each other. I saw this all the time when I covered the Philadelphia 76ers. But the key thing in those situations was that they had philosophical differences and they can manage them. Now you've got, as you mentioned, you've got a franchise that has a history of having one way of looking at things and not changing if somebody comes in and they want to do things their own way. Now you've got Paxton, it sounds like, right? The owners have his back, and they have no chance with Tibbs now, it sounds like, to even address the philosophical issue. They have just dug in.
Well, this has gone on with Thibodeau for a long time. This is how he's always coached the Chicago Bulls. So all of a sudden, it's like you wake up in the morning. That's the definition of insanity. You wake up and expect a different result when the same thing happens all over again. He hasn't changed his coaching style. The players may be saying the right things. Maybe they feel something different. I don't know. But I've yet to hear players talk about, yo, he's wearing this. Now, Joker knows that, hey, he's going to coach his hard, but that's what we want. So either they align everybody or this is exactly the way they want it. So if the Bulls are at odds with this, with Tom Thibodeau coaching his team that way, and the players buying into it, then what does that say about you as an organization, that this is the guy you hired? They said when they hired, we wanted a more disciplined guy. We wanted guys that believe in their players and bring us to the level we haven't gone before. Well, he was able to do that, and all of a sudden you don't like it because guys are getting injured. Maybe guys are more brittle than ever before, and maybe you don't want to acknowledge that in Chicago.
Here's the thing, and another big macro picture, and you're right. They have empowered Paxson and Gar Forman and that crew, and that's what they did. They did it with Phil, too, with Jerry Krause. He was the guy in charge, and that was the end-all, be-all, and that's the way that the family runs that particular business. But you're right from a micro perspective. The philosophical differences are there. He runs guys into the ground. I wouldn't necessarily hire him if I owned the team or if I were a general manager, because I'd be fearful of that, because the NBA is different
And
now.
it's moving in a new direction.
But you wouldn't hire somebody knowing how you felt and bring that guy in and say, okay, you have to change, and you know he's not going to change.
They
You wouldn't do that.
didn't know what he was because he was an assistant. So they didn't have necessarily have a track record with him because he was an assistant coach to Jeff Van Gundy and Doc Rivers.
They knew
and
his
so on and so
mentors
forth.
came, though, from the
Well,
grinded
Van Gundy
out
especially.
Van
mode.
Gundy especially.
Yeah, the
Pat
Van
Riley
Gundys
mode.
come from the Pat Riley tree, right? And it's 3-hour practices and all that stuff. So yeah, agreed wholeheartedly. But to your point, yeah, I understand why they don't want him around. Like, I get that. But to sit here and do what they're trying to do allegedly, which is keep him until all the jobs are filled. I mean, that's just dirty. That's shady.
That's completely
That's what
dirty.
I'm discussing. Now, I don't disagree again with them wanting to part ways with him, but the way they're going about it is ridiculous.
I don't have a problem with it. If you don't want somebody, you want your own people.
course.
You want to feel comfortable with
That's
people
not
you're
the
working
issue.
with. I completely
We're
understand
just
that.
asking
But-
what's happening.
Right.
It
Why
also
are you
hurts
doing
them
this?
if they're holding on to him and they need a new coach.
Yeah, who
They're
wants
not
to go
even
coach?
Right. If I'm Fred Hoiberg, why am I leaving Iowa State to come to this?
No,
Who's
someone
doing
will
that?
take the job. But my point is, like, if you're an established coach, you're not going to want that job because you've seen the history of the way that organization treats its coaches.
And
Yeah,
don't think
okay,
Fred Hoiberg
so-
doesn't know that.
In wrapping, let me ask you guys quickly. How will this scenario play out? You see Tibbs coaching anywhere?
He's sitting
Yeah.
out a year, I think.
I think he'll land somewhere this year. Yeah, I think they'll let him.
He won't be coaching this year. There will be no jobs available.
Because they're being petty.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Petty. Team Petty. The Bulls. Hashtag.
Uh-oh.
Look at
He said
you.
it. Not me.
We're gonna do this again.
Everybody on the court produced, made plays. The guys in here before me ate.
I feel blessed.
You wanted to say that? It was special because wait, hold on. All right, listen. Guys that have been around the block and can come back and still celebrate what they accomplished 40 years ago. And so we're going to hopefully get that done tonight or next series and be that team. I was able to give something last game. Hopefully, trying to get back out there and get a win. Game 4, it didn't happen. Clay comes out after, getting hit in the head. He's bleeding from the ear, like you said, and he's able to impact the game.
I mean, you take a doctor second times. How do you feel like?
I think she's taking advantage of the moment for sure. She's way too comfortable.
It's hard to get comfortable in front of the camera. She's got it down. 2-year-old Riley Curry is all the rage. I know you can call it the legend of Riley after she was introduced to the world after Game 1 of the conference finals. Actually, she introduced herself. Our Brian Windhorst made news by saying there's no place for kids in the press conference unless it's a celebration of winning a series. So enter last night, ladies and gentlemen. It was a series. They won. Riley Curry having some fun. And Brian had a really good point. He was on the show and he said, it's hard to ask questions, tough questions, when they have their child sitting there. He said he feels, and this is just his opinion, that players sometimes may use their children as props so that we focus on them, the journalists, and not ask the tough questions. Now, I think she's completely adorable. I think she's been a great storyline. So last night, she's with her Drake. She's way up and she's feeling way blessed. Your reaction to Riley Curry and all the buzz surrounding her?
The worst place to be is like against babies and puppies, probably,
Yeah.
Right? Whenever you're
Yeah.
taking that stand,
Kids and animals.
you're in a bad
Or
place.
Brian, like, too. First
Yeah.
Luckily, I am not taking that stand. And I don't think
Brian is awful, no.
I don't think Riley Curry was paying attention to the questions being asked, 1. So if you did have a tough question to ask, I think you could still ask it. 2. 3, if you're distracted, what were you doing during the game when you were writing your story and there were 20,000 people cheering?
Yeah.
Like, that's a distraction as well. I like to think as sports writers, or as Tony Reale says, like people of our ilk, our job is to be a conduit to the fans, right? We have access that they want so that we can observe, write, and share with them what it's like to be behind the scenes or what it's like to be in Steph Curry's presence. I just cannot fathom any moment in time where I'm learning less about Steph Curry. I'm learning more about Steph Curry when he's with his daughter. I mean, if you want to tell stories about these people and you want to see how he interacts with his daughter, that's more important to me. And as Bomani Jones says, he apparently has no flex with her because she just runs all around.
She's two and female. Of course,
time out. George and Freddie, you guys both had your daughter's adult now, but you have a little girl. I'm sure she has you wrapped around her finger.
Yeah, she does nothing wrong.
Yeah,
she's one and she's starting to walk now, and she's over. She's a terror, but in a nice way. You know what I mean? But like, I'm more terrified than anything else. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like I'm the wrong person to ask about this because even when I travel, I got a 1-year-old. My wife is handling between me, the 1-year-old, and the dog. We travel with the dog too, so we've got the whole family going together. So we take her everywhere, whether when she was 3 days old, I think we went out to dinner, stuff like that. So I don't have an issue with it. I've covered plenty of games, too, like I'm sure Kate has. Now, I've never been on Deadline because I've never been a writer. But, look, I just think it gives you, as Kate says, a better story to tell.
Sure.
Everyone knows this type of stories that you're going to get. And we're all going to get the same quotes anyway because they're going to print them out for you, and they're going to hand them to you. You're going to be fine. He may be a little distracted, but at the end of the day, what are you saving? A couple of minutes? Like, I don't think it's that big a deal. Plus, you're a newspaper person. That first Deadline was over way before the game was even over, right?
The 9:30 one, and you got the 11:15 one.
So what are we really talking about here?
There.
So you got the late edition is what you're worried about at that point. So, I just think it's hard to be anti-kid and puppies.
Well, and Windhorst, to his credit, said it. He said, I'm taking an unpopular position, so I'm ready for everyone to be mad at me.
Team Riley.
I'm fine that he took an unpopular position. You know, it has the kind of debate and dialogue, but here's the deal. If you think players don't like to be asked tough questions in front of their kids, do your job. Because if they don't like it, guess what will happen?
Don't bring the kids.
Stop bringing their kids to press conferences. A 2-year-old should not allow you not to do your job. I'm sorry. Riley Curry, to your point, no one was going to Riley Curry and say, hey, Riley, what do you think about your dad's performance? She's 2 years of age, just like kids and animals in live TV. What do you think is going to happen with unsupervised kids and live animals on TV? They're going to do what they want. But if you're a reporter, that should not stop you asking Steph Curry. If a 2-year-old's a distraction to your job, then maybe that job's not cut out for you. Because how many times have we heard people call the media a distraction, and the media hates that. Oh, we're not a distraction. We're just asking the questions about this situation.
Would you say, Freddie, Riley Curry behaves better than some media members?
Well, I'm not going to call names, but sure. We've all run into a media person or two. When we say, no, I would absolutely say, no, here's my
We can go names, too, if you want on this show.
My dad always told me, sometimes adults will be children. We run into many people in the media that act like children. I'm saying, dude.
Shocking.
Hey, come on now.
This does point out to me a larger conversation to have about the access right now and how the media works, specifically with the NBA, because we saw at the All-Star game, there was all this talk about how availability works and how there was a story on Grantland about the Oklahoma City Thunder and how beat reporters can't connect
because of the public relations department of Oklahoma City.
And a lot of that is Twitter and because you're kind of trying to play this gotcha game. And so this to me is one more step in a larger conversation about how do we define access now? Should it look different? Should there be podcast availability instead of walking in?
Let's be honest.
Should there be
be honest.
To your honesty point, here's the deal. You have to adapt in a changing environment. We all work in radio and TV. We have to adapt. We have to be multi-platform more than ever before. If you can't adapt to that, if you can't adapt to a 2-year-old not paying attention to you to keep you from asking questions, then you know what? Maybe you need to do something else.
Stop whining, media, basically. No one's gonna take your side on this, so stop whining. And by the way, nobody complains that Poppy Levitard brings his son on television every day. Okay?
Wow.
Oh, you're not.
Nobody complains that Poppy Levitard brings his son on TV.
I thought it was Dan Levitard, highly questioned, not Poppy.
Poppy is the star, and I think Dan will even tell you that is true.
That is true.
So we all love #adorable. We love Riley.
If you leave LeBron, there's something wrong. And I'm not saying anything. LeBron is the most unselfish superstar we have. You see they're winning. You're in the Eastern Conference. You're going to turn down an extra $25 million to go to L.A. because of the sun. I mean, we all love the sun, but you can buy some sun over there, an indoor house over there, and have how much sun you want. I mean, at the end of the day, it would validate it. I mean, you're leaving a winner. Cleveland has the best facilities. I mean, you can go on how good it is there, and I can understand you might want your own identity, but to be honest with you, man, he's got to prove, hey, win one or two and then opt out.
Okay, so I now wonder if people have forgotten about Kevin Love because of Tristan Thompson. I wonder if the Cavs feel that way. Kevin Love has a $16.7 million option to stay with the Cavs, but Thompson, who's been his replacement, is also up for a new deal and seemingly the favored of the crew, so to speak, and of the team in Cleveland. So, as he just said, and that would be Jared Dudley, would Kevin Love be stupid, quote unquote, to leave LBJ? Kate.
Well, it really depends on what Kevin Love is motivated by. Because do I think it would be stupid for him if what he cares about is pursuing championships and getting rings? Then it would absolutely be stupid. If he cares about being relevant in the NBA, maybe he wins one, maybe he doesn't, but he gets to live where he wants to live, he feels like he's in a space he's comfortable with, well, then it does make sense for him to leave LeBron James. And despite what we all talk about, like this pursuit for championships, there are some guys in the NBA who are perfectly happy to play some decent basketball, make some money, and create a circumstance where they want to live. And so for Kevin Love, that could be the move. And the other thing with this particular decision for Kevin Love is he has to know if he wins a title with Cleveland, it's not really his title. He won one of the rings with LeBron. Now, that's semantics-wise, but it's kind of like when you're deciding a college and you're like, do I want to go where there's history or do I want to create history? And that's an imprecise analogy, but that's kind of what Kevin Love is facing. Does he want to sign somewhere, Lakers, let's say?
Yeah.
Gary, maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
And
She didn't lead you to say that.
over the next 6 to 8 years, he's a long shot to win a title. But he's where he is and he's happy and that's the space he wants to be in. Or does he stick by LeBron's side? And what are those values to him? So I'm not totally sure here whether we can say it's stupid for him to leave LeBron when in the long run, that's the kind of guy he is and that's what his values are.
I agree with Kate. I think it's about people's priorities.
Sure.
And look, you know if you're going to be attached to LeBron, you're going to get to the finals a number of times. You're going to have a chance to win a championship. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, some guys like to be the man. And he liked being the man, it seemed like, in Minnesota until he didn't like it anymore. And now he's gotten a taste of being the third wheel. And Chris Bosh warned him. He said, hey, it's not easy necessarily playing with LeBron because you're going to have to cater to what he does best. Now, he's great. As Jared Dudley pointed out, he is as unselfish a superstar as we've ever had since Magic Johnson, maybe. But you're not getting the shine you used to get, and you can get the sunshine and the shine and all the money, and if your team does well, it's the reason, you're a bigger part of the reason as to why your team is doing well. I also think that if he does go to the Lakers, if that ends up being the destination,
sure.
I believe no matter how bad they are right now, this thing is cyclical. That is still the premier franchise in the NBA. You look at them. They don't go too long without getting back in the mix. Now, I don't think they'll be right back in the mix next year, but I think that they'll be in the mix shortly enough where he could contend for championships with an organization like that.
I love you. That's fair. Yeah, they're going to contend.
I mean, I
like what you're saying there.
That the Lakers don't stay out of the mix too long.
Right. I think it's an average of, I think the longest stretch has been like 5 or 6 years where they stay out.
We're always in the conversation.
I'm going to get my Stephen A. face on based on you
fine.
guys. Oh, carry her Lakers. We got to make Carrie feel better.
I'm fine.
Here's why I think it's stupid for 2 reasons. Number one, I'm basing on what he said, Kevin Love. When he signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know what? It's not about me. I want to make sure I'm a part of a team that wins a championship. You know what? If you feel that way, Kevin Love, or if you didn't feel that way, don't say anything. Just say, hey, I just want to contribute. He signed up with LeBron James. I know I can win a championship. This gives me the best chance to win a championship. I can't wait to play with these guys and build something here in Cleveland. If that's not how the way you felt, then no comment would have been better for Kevin Love to not say a word. Because now I'm going to use those words against you. Because you basically told me. You basically told LeBron James. You told Kyrie Irving. You told Cleveland fans, I'm here to build something special here in Cleveland for the long term. I'm paraphrasing his words, but that's what he said at that press conference when he was able to facilitate that trade from Minnesota to Cleveland. So that's why I think it'd be stupid, number one. Number two, maybe certain guys can't be the guy and get what you want. And I think Kevin Love has to really be careful about that because let's say for giggles, he goes to the Lakers. He gets a chance to play in the city in which he is still beloved. The 2 years he played at UCLA got them to back-to-back Final Fours. People still have a high reverence for Kevin Love in that city, as well as they should. It's still a Lakers town. I know the Clippers on the top. That's always going to be a Lakers town no matter what the Clippers does. If you're Kevin Love, how are you going to build your brand? You're not going to the Clippers. You're going to go to the Lakers. But if you go there and you think you're going to be the guy, you're trying to say you're going to be in the same line with the Kobe Bryants and the Shaquille O'Neals and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars and the Jerry West and the Will Chamberlains. Kevin Love, maybe you're not that kind of player.
That's a tremendous amount of pressure.
That's all, an immense amount of pressure. You can score and do those things and be a great player in Minnesota, and they're not winning, no one cares.
Sure.
You don't have that kind of leeway in Los Angeles. You better be careful what you wish for, Kevin Love, by saying, okay, maybe this is not the situation for me. I'm going to go there, make money, and build my brand. If you don't produce, no one's going to point the finger at anybody else. They're going to point it at you.
Yeah, but if he goes to L.A., then he's actually pursuing, in some ways, pursuing greatness, as you're saying, because it's a franchise where you're going to have a lot of pressure. So you couldn't make the narrative about him leaving the Cavs then, well, he doesn't care about winning. Or, you know, because he's signing with some franchise, right. He's taking the money. Like, he would then be going somewhere and taking on a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. So in some ways,
he's capable of doing that. That's
well, it just depends on who else he's paired with. Now, he probably, I don't necessarily think, maybe he doesn't want to be the man. Maybe he just wants someone who makes him feel like he's part of it. And we can say what we want, but there's a lot to this. Well, he's not in the clique, and he's not taking the pictures, and he's not in the Instagram.
And he's not on the bench.
Right. And now he's sitting down and watching all this, and he hears LeBron talking about how Tristan Thompson should be a Cav for life, and there's talk about him getting a max contract. Sure. There's a lot of that, and you're only human when you start hearing that stuff. And here's the other thing. You've never gone somewhere and tried something and you thought you like it, and then you didn't like it? I mean, that's happened to
he
plenty
hadn't
of people.
even played a minute with them when he said that at the press conference. You think that's how you're going to feel.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, like LeBron after the game the other night, he's like, my guys came to play for me. And I know Sarah Spain was talking about this on her radio show with Prim. Sarah took offense to that. Like, you came to play for me, is LeBron saying that. You're not the coach.
Well, no,
he is, though.
No, you know what I mean? He's not officially the coach. And using that language, now if I'm Kevin Love, and I'm some of those guys, like, I came to play for you.
Oh, well, he did.
But that's not how I think Kevin Love feels.
I understand
that's my point. That's my point. I'm not disagreeing that J.R. Smith feels that way, and that Thompson feels that way. I don't disagree with that, but I disagree that Kevin Love is in that place.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
He would want LeBron saying,
I'm not disagreeing
you came to play for me.
He doesn't want to be LeBron. He doesn't want it to be LeBron and the LeBronettes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what Kevin Love wants.
But that's what you signed up for.
Exactly. Right. That's what you signed up for.
But we all called Chris Bosh a hater when he told Kevin Love that was going to be the case.
Yeah, I know. Chris Bosh.
I'm not saying everyone here.
But
Chris Bosh gave him
sage advice.
Absolutely. Chris Bosh gave him a blueprint. This is what you're going to have to deal with. Long before he signed that contract, and Kevin Love got the trade. He decided to sign up for it anyway. So you had to have known that whatever orbit you're going to be around.
I wouldn't want to be tied to everything I'd said I was going to like, and then once I tried it, I'm like, wait, that's not what I thought it was going to be. You got to give Kevin Love a pass on those comments before he got to Cleveland.
I'm not going to give him a pass on that because that's exactly what he said he wanted to be a part of. He said he didn't want to be in Minnesota anymore and not be a part of a winning franchise.
Well, if he goes to L.A., he will be a part of a winning franchise.
Well, right now, no.
So then he's not disagreeing with his earlier statements.
To me, he is disagreeing.
And he's allowed to change his mind. Like, it's just
no, that's fine. He's allowed to change his mind, but don't have the look on your face that I saw when everybody celebrating, thinking, wow, of all times to get injured, I could have been a part of this.
Right, so you said it's the LeBron and LeBronettes?
Yeah, like, he doesn't want to feel like that. I'm sure he wants to feel like he's a part of this, you know?
The LeBronettes. All right, we leave it there. Okay, so you guys, Nelly comes on the show every so often.
Oh,
and
big fan of Nelly.
Yeah, well, only when he's not talking about the Lakers.
Oh, well, then you're not a big fan of Nelly.
He came on, I guess we were in Los Angeles, and we were during the ESPYs, and it was when Dwight Howard was determining whether or not he was going to re-sign with the Lakers. And so he specifically said, nobody wants to play with Kobe. And we thought that was blasphemy. However, Jared Dudley, also on the herd, he had some comments that were very similar. So let's listen.
Right now, the way Kobe, especially getting hurt and kind of not, even Jordan, if you see Jordan when he played with the Wizards, he started toning it down a little bit. He knew he didn't have it. Kobe's the opposite. He wants to show everyone so much. I mean, I remember seeing Kobe. I think it was like 70 games in, he was outshot the whole Laker team by like 100 shots. Like, come on now, Kobe. We love you, Kobe, but come on. It's like, it's now time to start giving up. I think most guys don't want to play with Kobe. I mean, for the most part, he's such a superstar, and he's such like a huge personality and a killer that, I mean.
He doesn't have that throttle to say, it's time to step back.
And that's why I think that it'll be a while for the Lakers to get good, because no stars. I mean, Love, I'll be surprised. Even people say Love, I'd be surprised Love want to go there.
All right, so it's no news bulletin. It's not breaking news that Kobe only has a few friendships in the NBA. He says that. He, remember, had that magazine article. He said,
Henry Abbott wrote that piece.
It's hard to have friends because of the type of guy I am. So he's not telling us anything about Kobe and the type of person he is. But do you agree with that take, that most guys in the league wouldn't want to go and play with Kobe because of the way he plays ball?
I think at this stage of his career, yes. If you would have asked me this 5-6 years ago, I would have told you guys would deal with it because Kobe was arguably the best player in the game.
Sure.
But yeah, right now you're looking at a guy who's been injured the last several years, a guy who at this stage of his career, and look, I get it because he's been one of the best, that he probably still feels like, look, if I rehab, I can do this. I may not be able to do it exactly the way I used to do it, but I've refined my game enough to where I can get us to a certain level and get us to compete. Coaches have always said, I believe it was Stan Van Gundy who said this once, which is, the hardest thing in sports is to coach the aging superstar because they still feel like they can be that guy they were several years ago when their body's telling them no. And Father Time is undefeated. And I think that falls into the problem here with wanting to play with Kobe Bryant. I think it's age, personality, and, his body kind of breaking down.
Okay, so at 37 years old, you don't believe that Kobe thinks he needs to adjust?
I mean, his play doesn't say that. I mean, he still wants to take the majority of the shots, but you can argue he hasn't had a great team around him. But he brings up a point. Even when he had better players around him, he pouted a little bit at times, like, oh, you guys don't want me to shoot? Okay, fine, I'll just pass the ball all game. So he's had those issues before, and part of that is why guys don't want to play with him. But I think the bigger issue now is not so much he can be hard to get along with. I think it's more about he's at the end of his career and the injuries have factored in, and he's not the same guy that he was several years ago. I think that's the biggest issue.
Okay.
Here's how I took Dudley's comments. He says most guys in the NBA don't want to play with Kobe. To me, that was most of the top-level guys don't want to play with Kobe. And the actual numbers bear that out. If you look at the other quote-unquote stars that the Lakers have had over the last few years, they were all acquired via trade. All right, like Lynn, although you can debate whether he's a star or not.
No.
Nash,
no debate.
Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Gasol, Odom. Those guys did not sign with the Lakers.
Right.
Now, who signed with the Lakers? Nick Young came in, McRoberts, Jordan Hill, Steve Blake. That's that next middle layer of the NBA. So if Dudley says most NBA guys don't want to play with Kobe, I don't agree with that. Right. I think it's that top layer that Batman and Robin are like Tina Fey, Amy Poehler.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. That's a perfect example.
Thank you.
Okay.
To be that second guy, I think they're low to go there.
Okay.
Yeah, here's the deal. Maybe I don't want to believe that players don't want to play with a guy like that because we talk about LeBron James being a basketball savant, knowing the game. Kobe's pretty much in that level. Not to the level of LeBron James, in my opinion, but he knows the game inside and out. He understands the game. I think he'd be a really good coach in the NBA if he can dial down being too much of Kobe at times and understand that you can't expect everybody to be like you. I think that's been Michael Jordan's problem until he finally delegated and let people do their jobs with Charlotte. I think a player of any ilk that Kobe would trust, not saying he would cede control of that player, that's never going to happen.
Sure.
But if he looks at the guy and says, I know each and every day in practice this guy's balling out to be the best he can be. I know I can trust that guy on the basketball court. That kind of guy would be a revelation for Kobe Bryant and vice versa. So I understand what Jerry Dudley is saying, that if you're a guy that feels like you're an alpha dog, you know you're never going to be the alpha dog in that team with Kobe Bryant. I think he only has one more year at the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't think that's going to be his last year in the NBA. But if you feel that way about that situation, then you're definitely going to clash with him. But if you're a middle-tier guy, to Kate's point, you think, if I got a chance to play with Kobe Bryant for 1 year and learn that trick of the trade, not saying it's going to work.
Go ahead.
If you get a chance to learn that kind of trick of the trade, that would benefit a guy like that and make that work.
So let's talk about these last couple of seasons, and you alluded to this. Kobe is going to take most of the shots when you have the team that he's had around him these last 2 seasons.
And he should.
And he should. He should have every right to do that. Let's consider that. So I almost feel like what's happened these last 2 seasons, when he's obviously age and attrition has set in, he's getting a bad rap because he is taking most of the shots. But look who he is helping out.
I understand that,
but moving forward, I ask you, knowing that this is his last year, I see the change in the transition that he needs help. He knows he needs help. He can't do it all by himself.
Well, I would hope that would be the case, but they say, what is it? Old dogs. What is it? can't teach an old dog new tricks. Right.
You're too young to know that, but that's what they
Right. Sorry. So anyway.
He turns to you.
Of course. I'm
He's always got a little gray in the beard.
A little gray. It's a lot of gray. I'm okay with that.
Sensei. So anyway. Yeah, and I think that's part of it. But I do think that it's okay. He may say that's the case, but I got to see it to believe it. And he's only got one more year there, at least according to Mitch Kupchak. I don't know if I buy that that's Kobe Bryant's last year.
Yeah.
Maybe Kobe Bryant ends up somewhere else. That would certainly be interesting to see how that gets, how awkward that could get. But I just think it's the age and the body breaking down and the attitude. Like, yeah, I don't know if I'm buying Kobe's changing, but more importantly, I just don't know if I can trust him physically anymore.
But it's so odd to me that people don't believe Kobe can change when we've actually seen him
do that.
Change throughout his career. No, I'm talking about like as a human being, especially.
Yeah,
the way he talks about himself now, the way he talks about the game, the way he talks about the NBA and basketball is very, very different. Like the documentary he put out, there seems to be a maturity there that understands his place.
I think that's different from the basketball court.
Would you ever think there would be a time that he would go to Shaq and say, "I appreciate you now. I knew what I had," and apologize? They had such a salty relationship.
Well, I thought they had the conversation already.
No, that's what we're saying.
We're saying he's involved.
Right, but he doesn't have to deal with Shaq every day anymore. I think that's the distance has created that.
It gives you perspective.
Yeah, but you can have perspective when you're not dealing with someone on a daily basis. I bet you if Shaq was still around in the Laker organization, maybe that wouldn't be the same relationship that they may have now.
I think Kobe got a bad rap when Dwight Howard was there, and
Dwight Howard shouldn't have, based on what we know.
Exactly. And so I just feel like if we take a bigger picture look at everything else, everyone was saying, "Oh, you were so hard on Dwight. That wasn't right. He needed this." And then we watched Dwight, and Dwight is Dwight. And it was just under Kobe that it was tough. Dwight is still the same person with the Houston Rockets that he was with Kobe Bryant, and that's what the problem is. Kobe was more vocal about saying what he did and did not like about his.
Well, but guys had an opportunity to go play with him this offseason, and Carmelo didn't want to go. He came to New York. I get it, but that's my point. Like, if he wanted to play with Kobe, if people really wanted to play with Kobe, like Kate alluded to, the upper echelon guys, there was an opportunity to go play with him.
Well, the question there is not whether those guys want to. They don't, maybe because of what they've seen from Kobe beforehand.
Sure.
The question we were just talking about was whether Kobe can change his game going forward. Now, if he did change his game and adjust going forward, maybe guys would feel differently, although there doesn't seem to be enough time left in Kobe's career to really see how that plays out.
Guys know that Kobe does not want anybody drinking weak tea. You better drink strong coffee to deal with him. He doesn't want guys that are weak. And if he feels that way, then that's not the kind of guy.
I like tea that's
Kobe
strong.
is still talented enough to do anything he wants on a basketball floor in regards to the way he wants to play. If he wants 10 assists a night, he can still get it. He can get 20 points a night. I mean, he's capable. I just don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what the offseason, what happens during the offseason for the Lakers and free agency. I believe we will have this conversation again.
Keeping hope alive, right?
Listen, I know for a fact, but I don't want to say anything. No breaking news. Kate's playing for the Lakers now. Okay.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
One team features the league MVP. The other has the best player on the planet. Two others, Kyrie Irving and Andrew Bogut, were top overall draft pick. Then there is Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, and Tristan Thompson, to name a few. We want to rank the 5 best players who will play in the upcoming finals. Again, we are ranking the 5 best players who will play in the upcoming finals. I'll start with you first, Freddie.
I'm going to go with LeBron James. There's no doubt he's the best player in the world. I mean, I know he was not the MVP this year. You could have made a great case for him to be the MVP, but he's the best player in this series. This series will be determined how well he plays for Cleveland against Golden State. Got Steph Curry number 2, no question about that, what he's been able to do, not just shooting the basketball, but the assist numbers. Defense has been a lot better than anybody could have anticipated. Draymond Green, for me, continues to impress. I don't know about a max contract player. I don't think he's that, but he's going to get a max contract when his contract is all said and done. He can can guard so many different positions, not afraid to take shots, not afraid to yap and get in your face. I got him at number 3. I got Tristan Thompson number 4, excuse me. I think he could be an underrated factor. He was so good against the Hawks, they couldn't control him off the offensive boards. He played with such great energy, and he was not afraid. I know it's the Hawks, Carrie. I get it, but they did win 60 in the regular season. Can't discount that. But Tristan Thompson was a guy that became a force they couldn't keep off the boards. And he continued to grow in confidence, and I wonder if Golden State will be able to do that, even though they have a much better front line, a bigger front line. And I got Klay Thompson number 5. I thought his offense has been able to suffer, especially in the series versus Houston, guarding James Harden and chasing him around. I know I don't have Kyrie Irving on this list, and I think that's because he's injured. I don't know what kind of Kyrie Irving are we going to see.
Yeah.
We may see 20 points one night. We may see him tweak that knee injury, maybe 5 points, only 10 minutes the next night. That's why he did not make my list. If it was 5 most important players, yes. But the 5 best players, LeBron 1, Steph 2, Draymond 3, Tristan 4, Klay Thompson 5.
You're 4 and 5. I don't know. Go ahead, Kate. We'll get back to you.
My top 5. My top 2, really. Steph, LeBron. I got Steph ahead of LeBron. And I'm looking at it as which player do I think is going to be most important at the end of this series. Which player do I think is going to have played best and been most effective? And I got Steph Curry on this. I think Steph Curry is the evolution of the NBA game. I think we are witnessing the evolution of that game. I think he has taken three-point shooting to a new consistent level, and he's doing it in the postseason, which is when we think that's going to get shut down. He's shooting 44% from 3 in the postseason. It's basically the same as the regular season. I mean, in a lot of ways, that's unheard of. And defenses, as I talked about earlier in the show, because he's shooting off the dribble and he's not reliant, spacing in the corner, he's not reliant on somebody else to get him the ball. I don't know that Cleveland knows, or anybody knows yet, how to shut that down. How do you shut down a guy who's coming off a pick and roll, dribbling 3 times, putting it behind his legs, step back for a 3? I don't know that defenses can guard that. Now I've spent tons of time talking about Steph Curry, not the rest of that. So I got LeBron 2. I got Klay Thompson 3. I know he's struggled at times offensively, but his numbers are still 19.7 points per game in the postseason, and he's still shooting 3-pointers at basically the same clip as he did in the regular season. As we know with the Golden State Warriors, that extra point when they're making 3-pointers is the difference for them in a lot of ways. And so Klay Thompson, to me, number 3. I have Kyrie at 4. I think the week off, I don't think it's going to make him better, but I do think he's going to be refreshed, at least for those first 2 games, and there's so much spacing in this finals.
Most important, too, at the end of said and done.
And he's still averaging, like 18 a game here in the postseason, and crucial for Cleveland. And then I got Draymond Green, who his numbers in the postseason have been so much better than the regular season, and the things he do and the versatility he's going to give this team, and possibly being able to guard both LeBron and an inside guy, is going to be invaluable for them.
Number 1 was hard for me because Steph Curry is the MVP, and he's had a better season than LeBron. I don't think that's debatable by any metric this particular season. But LeBron is still the best player in the game. So it's kind of a loaded question as to who the best player is in this series or whatnot. But I'm still going to go with LeBron because he's a dynamic force still, even though he's not been as efficient as he's been in past postseasons. As a matter of fact, I think that attributes to the fact that he doesn't have a lot of talent around him at this particular juncture. But so I went with LeBron number 1. Steph Curry, again, splitting hairs, I put him at number 2. And I agree with Kate. I think this is a team that's going to break that mold. There's this notion that jump shooting teams don't win.
Yes,
if you look at it, I mean, look, a lot of these teams, even the LeBron Miami teams, were jump shooting teams, okay, and they won championships.
The Bulls,
the Spurs, Spurs were a jump shooting team. The Mavericks, if you look at some of the teams that won recently, they had an element of being a jump shooting team. So I think that's a bit of a misnomer. But I think Curry has been as dynamic a player as we've had all season, and he's going to continue to do that. Draymond Green, to me, is the second most important player on the Golden State Warriors.
He is.
His net rating when he's on the floor and off the floor, it's like plus a gazillion, it feels like, when he's on the floor and they go small with him at the 5. So he's so versatile. He's like a crazy hybrid of like Shane Battier meets Kawhi Leonard. Like it's insane what he can do on the floor and how he can guard every single position, and obviously a very good offensive player as well. Then I went with Kyrie Irving because I too agree with Kate that thinking that the rest will help at least in some way, shape, or form. He's basically been relegated to being a spot-up shooter, and he's been good at that, which he wasn't, by the way, before this season. So I think that's the LeBron effect. But I think he'll be better in this particular series because of the week off. And then I'm going to go with Klay Thompson as my 5th guy. And just for...
Go on.
Yeah, just to add one more thing. It's Warriors in 6. So.
Okay. I think a lot of people... Wait, Holy. I have the exact same list that George has, except I can switch my 1 and 2. I'm going Curry first,
all right.
LeBron second, and Warriors in 6.
That's what I have.
My gut wants to say Warriors in 6, but that LeBron guy. But I think Golden State is just way too deep.
Hell, I would have gone 5 if it wasn't for LeBron.
Yeah. I think if we had
I mean, if it wasn't for LeBron. If it wasn't for the best player in the
If it wasn't for LeBron, that's the only reference I have.
Kyrie Irving was healthier and Kevin Love was playing, I might change my pick, but I just think Warriors in 6, that's what it's going to turn.
I want to give an honorable mention, even though we didn't pick them as the most valuable players, J.R. Smith and Harrison Barnes. I'm really looking forward to watching them and Amon Shumpert make a difference.
Someone's going to overpay for Harrison Barnes and make Golden State match that contract. Restricted free agent. Keep an eye on that.
I agree with that. Good luck, gentlemen. The Lakers did well in this year's draft lottery, getting the number 2 selection. And according to ESPN's Chad Ford, the top 2 selection should be Karl Anthony Towns, who's considered the Lakers' top choice, while Jahlil Okafor is considered offensively the most gifted big man in a decade. He's also another strong option for the Lakers. However, general manager Mitch Kupchak says the Lakers could consider trading their pick. And according to NBA.com, they're evaluating 4 to 8 players. So the question quite simply is, who is the best pick for the team, George?
Karl Anthony Towns is the best player for that pick because they need defense in the worst way possible. And he's going to be a defensive monster right out of the gate. He is NBA ready from a defensive perspective. We didn't get to see the offense that he's got at the college level, but he certainly has the skill set. When he got a chance to show it in certain games, you could see that there was a real skill set there. Maybe not as well-rounded as Okafor offensively, but I think that Karl Anthony Towns, you can plug him in. He is kind of the right fit for the way teams want to play with big men now. He's certainly agile, he's athletic, and again, defense first. So you look at guys like Tyson Chandler, who have had great careers in this league. I think that he's Tyson Chandler, but better offensively. So I think he could be a perfect fit for the Lakers because let's face it, they're not, at least as currently constituted, not a great defensive team.
Sure.
I'm taking D'Angelo Russell with that number 2 pick because I think Karl Anthony Towns is the best player in the draft. And I said that back in February. If I had my choice, number 1 pick, Karl Anthony Towns or Jahlil Okafor, I'm taking Karl Anthony Towns. I think his upside is going to be tremendous, and he's a big guy that can play defense. He's no slouch there. He can make free throws. You have a big guy that can make 80% from the free throw line, you'll take 72% from the free throw line. That's still double what Dwight Howard and also DeAndre Jordan shot from the free throw line in the NBA playoffs this year. But in a league now that has become so specialized at the 1, 2, and 3 positions, you really need to level off those guys. We're in the golden age of point guards still. Chris Paul still more than serviceable with Los Angeles. You got Steph Curry's going to be a demon with Golden State. Russell Westbrook with Oklahoma City. Mike Conley Jr., an underrated guy with Memphis. D'Angelo Russell can be that guy who's long, who's lean, left-handed, can make shots inside, can be that kind of defender where all of a sudden you go into a game and say, okay, we got him. We know he's not going to stop Russell Westbrook, but Russell Westbrook is 29. That guy can get us 23 and kind of level that off. So if I'm the Lakers, with the way the NBA's gone now, D'Angelo Russell, I think, would be the best fit for them at number 2. I still think Karl Anthony Towns is going number 1.
Okay. But the Lakers, to me, are one of the only franchises when they say we're thinking of 6 to 8 players, we're not sure what we're going to do, we're going to trade it. I actually think their options are wide open because we don't know yet what their plan is in this free agency. So it's tough to say, all right, well, you know, if it was a Sixers pick, it's like they got to take Russell because this is their one building block and they've got these other big guys inside. But with the Lakers, it's so dependent on whatever they're thinking come free agency, right? Are they going after Kevin Love? Are they going after Gasol? Are they going after Aldridge, Harrison Barnes, all those guys? So are they thinking, are they going to get Rondo? Are they thinking we need a point guard?
No,
I knew if I said that,
they're not going to get Rondo.
No. It would be great television to watch Kobe and Rondo play together.
That's rude.
It would be great you're telling me.
Better television watching Carrie see those two playing on TV.
Alpha dogs like that, buddy. Heads. That could be interesting.
Like cats all
But everything
fighting
seems
all around.
open to the Lakers right now.
Right.
I think they should take Okafor at number 2. I think the guy who slotted there at number 2, and who I think you said Chad Ford, kind of penned him in there.
Yeah, sure.
That's who I think is best for the Lakers.
Okay.
And I actually see the Lakers, and this will make you happy, Carrie, as being really pretty good next year.
Oh, they're going to be contenders.
Really pretty good.
Yeah.
I think they pick up somebody.
Listen.
What is contender?
Contending
define
to be
contending?
relevant. Okay, contending to be relevant.
That's not
in the playoffs. We will be in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah,
That's why
maybe.
you believe that too.
Maybe.
You know you.
I know.
I got to see what the roster looks like.
Wait, to your point,
Me too.
because you're a genius, as usual. As usual, she's a genius. Excuse me, can you guys kill both of their mics? And let's just hear Kate. No, I'm kidding.
I thought you said, can you kill George and Fred? I'm like, that's a little
But
extreme.
Okafor is so perfect for them that his offensive talents, and we saw how well Kobe worked with Gasol, and Okafor is so skilled offensively that I think he's the perfect fit for them. And obviously, defense is key, but it's also something that you've seen with Golden State. You need guys who focus on it, but you can also work with guys.
So I reached out to Jeff Goodman. He is our college basketball expert.
Guru.
He knows everything. He's in the trenches every day with these kids. He's watched their game. He's watched them develop. And I said, who should the Lakers pick? He said, well, obviously it would be Towns or Okafor, whoever falls in place. I said, well, who's the best man? Who's the best big man ready to go? And he said Okafor, without a doubt. He's ready right now. He's the person.
He's skilled offensively. He has a pro game.
He was like, he's just ready right now because we've had the conversation that they say big men take so long to develop. He says he's the most NBA ready of the big men. It won't take him that long to develop. So I like what you had to say. Your point. You're a genius. You're not
mediocre.
Somewhat.
All I know is I heard Mike Krzyzewski on Colin Cowherd's show say
there you go. So you're going to throw Coach K.
Say that whoever drafts him, in Okafor in this case, shouldn't think he's an NBA-ready product. He's going to need coaching. He's going to need help. And you know what? He may be a liability on defense.
Okay.
So
I can't argue with Coach K if you're going to drop Coach K.
I mean, not that I'm tight with Coach K. I mean, you're tight with Jeff Goodman.
Yeah, go ahead. Drop. Yeah, no,
but,
you're right. Okay.
All I'm saying is
you just heard Coach K on the radio, right?
Right, I heard Coach K on the radio. He said it on the record, so you know that he's not a finished product. So I'm
playoffs next year, guys. We're excited about it.
Maybe. Let's see what the roster looks like.
The West is still loaded. Because let me tell you, this past season, we were saying that the Lakers wouldn't even win 20 games.
Who said that?
Most people did.
Most people said
they came pretty close. They
21.
did. Yeah. They came pretty close. They're not the Knicks, but they came pretty close.
All right, so up close and personal, J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Arian Foster, apologies. The Texans were chosen to be the subject of this year's Hard Knocks, which chronicles NFL teams as they go through training camp. Each of the last 5 teams on the show, they've improved their records, so there's some good mojo there. I'll open this up to my esteemed panel. Who would you like to see on Hard Knocks if it weren't the Texans?
I want to see the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
That's almost like a collision
really good one.
of reality shows. You've got Hard Knocks, and then you've got Tebow, which I think he could have his own reality show.
Right.
So it's a collision. Plus, you got Chip Kelly.
That's what I really want to see.
Quarterback drama. You got a new running back, and all with the backdrop of a city I love, Philadelphia.
Okay.
I would go with Washington, even though Philly is very good, because
more drama.
All the RG3 drama. Gruden and RG3 don't necessarily get along. The owner can be a little wacky too.
Sure.
So I think that there's been so much drama in Washington for so long that I'd like to actually see it play out on television for myself.
Okay.
That'd be better than Scandal on TV, to be honest with you, Washington Hard Knocks. I'm taking the Cleveland Browns.
Oh,
Johnny Manziel's comeback.
These are all good.
How that's going to work
but
out.
But they've been on a few times, no?
I understand that.
But not with Johnny.
Manziel. And their owner, Jimmy Haslam, it seems like he's not wrapped too tight either. So, you know, he's going to make an appearance on that. And maybe LeBron James shows up to support Johnny Manziel.
Okay.
That could be
got
part
the
of that conversation.
planned out.
Yeah.
So I want to see the Dallas Cowboys and their reclamation project. They've taken on a lot of players that some say are risky.
Yeah.
And I also
Greg Hardy,
if in fact, at the end of the day, AP gets there. You know what I mean? It would be interesting to see what happens with
That'll be Hard Knocks next year.
Next year, you think?
Yeah, if AP's with Dallas, absolutely.
Yeah, he wouldn't even be a main character, Greg Hardy.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
Next year.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's nothing but a pleasure. Kate, George, Freddie.
Pleasure's all ours. Always a pleasure.
You guys worked so hard, and it's been really, truly a pleasure. Join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. We're back. Have a good one, everyone.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.